Good morning, everyone. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into the fascinating world of cells, especially the different major organelles that make up a cell. I know biology can seem complicated, but by the end of this session, you'll have a much clearer understanding of how these tiny structures work together to keep life going. So, why are these organelles important? Each one has a unique job, just like how different organs in your body work together to keep you alive. We'll explore their functions and I'll show also how they interact in a living cell to create balance and harmony. Let's get started. As a review, cells are the basic units of life and they contain various organelles that perform specific functions necessary for cellular survival and function. On the other hand, organelles are membrane-bound structures that help carry out cells' processes ranging from energy production to protein synthesis. Let's begin with the control center of the cell, the nucleus. Think of it as the brain of the cell. The nucleus contains the DNA, which is like a blueprint for everything that happens in the cell. It tells the cell what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. The nucleus is surrounded by a membrane called the nuclear envelope, which controls what enters and leaves. Inside, there's a region called the nucleolus, which is responsible for making ribosomal RNA or rRNA, a key component of ribosomes. These are essential for making proteins, which are the building blocks of life. So, the nucleus essentially directs all the activities of the cell based on the information it holds in the DNA. Next, we have the mitochondria, often called the powerhouse of the cell. The mitochondria are responsible for producing ATP, which is the cell's main energy source. Think of ATP like a battery that powers all the cell's activities. Mitochondria have their own DNA, and they can divide and reproduce within the cell. This makes sense because mitochondria were once believed to be independent organisms that formed a symbiotic relationship with our cells million years ago. Mitochondria are so important that without them, cells wouldn't have enough energy to carry out their function. Now let's move on to the endoplasmic reticulum, or what we call ER. The ER is like a network of roads that transport materials throughout the cell. There are two types of ER, rough ER and smooth ER. The rough ER is covered with ribosomes and it's involved in making proteins just like ribosomes. Once proteins are made, they are often modified or folded in the rough ER. On the other hand, the smooth ER doesn't have ribosomes, and it's involved in making lipids, which are fats and oils, and detoxifying harmful substances. It also plays a role in storing calcium, which is important for muscle contraction and other cellular processes. The cytoplasm is the jelly-like substance that fills the space between the cell membrane and the nucleus. It's not just empty space, it's a crucial part of the cell. The cytoplasm holds all the organelles in place and provides a medium for chemical reactions to occur. It's made up mostly of water, but it also contains ions, proteins, and other molecules that are important for cellular processes. Think of the cytoplasm like the air in a room. It's not the room itself, but without it, the organelles wouldn't have the environment they need to function. Next up, let's talk about ribosomes. You might have heard of them before as the factories of the cells. Ribosomes are small particles made of RNA and proteins. They can either be floating freely in the cytoplasm or attached to the endoplasmic reticulum, which we talked about earlier. Ribosomes are responsible for protein synthesis. They read the instructions from the DNA and build proteins. These proteins are crucial because they help carry out all the functions in the cell. Without ribosomes, a cell wouldn't be able to make the proteins it needs to survive. Now let's talk about the Golgi Apparatus, often referred as the packaging and shipping center. Once proteins and lipids are made, they need to be packed or packaged and sent to the correct location within or outside the cell. This is where the Golgi apparatus comes in. The Golgi apparatus is made up of stocked membranes and it processes, packages, and sorts proteins and lipids. Once it's finished, it sends these materials out in small vesicles to where they are needed. It's a crucial organelle for making sure everything in the cell is where it's supposed to be at the right time. Next, let's talk about lysosomes. Lysosomes are like the cell's garbage disposal system. They contain enzymes that break down waste products and old cell parts, recycling them for the cell to use again. This helps keep the cell clean and running smoothly. The cytoskeleton, the cell's structural support. The cytoskeleton is like the cell skeleton. It provides structure and support. It's made of proteins like actin, microtubules, and intermediate filaments that give the cell its shape, allows it to move, and help transport materials inside. The cytoskeleton is also important for cell division, ensuring that everything is in the right place when a cell splits into two. Without it, cells wouldn't be able to maintain their shape, move, or divide properly. Now let's talk about the chloroplasts, which are found in plant cells and some algae. Chloroplasts are the organelles responsible for photosynthesis, the process by which plants make their own food. They contain a green pigment called chlorophyll, which absorbs sunlight and uses that energy to convert carbon dioxide and water into glucose and oxygen. This process is vital because it's the primary way energy enters the ecosystem. Plants create a food that sustains nearly all life on Earth. Next, we have vacuoles. Vacuoles are membrane-bound sacs found in both plant and animal cells, but they are especially large in plant cells. In plants, the central vacuole takes up a huge portion of the cell and has several important roles. One of its main functions is to store water, which helps maintain the cell's shape and turgidity. This is what keeps the plant upright. It also stores nutrients, waste products, and sometimes even pigments that give flowers and fruits their colors. In addition, the vacuole helps to break down certain waste products and plays a role in cell growth since it can expand as the plant grows. Finally, let's talk about the cell membrane, the gatekeeper of the cell. This is the outer layer of the cell that separates the inside from the outside world. The membrane is made of a phospholipid bilayer, which allows it to control what enters and leaves the cell. It's semi-permeable, meaning it lets some substances in, like oxygen and nutrients, while keeping others out, like toxins. So to wrap up, we've covered a lot today, from the nucleus, which controls cell activities, to the mitochondria, which provides energy, and all the way to the cell membrane, which protects and controls what enters the cell. Each of these organelles play a vital role, and they all work together to keep the cell alive and functioning. Remember, cells are like little factories, and organelles are the machines that keep things running. Each organelle has a specific job, but they all need to work together as a team. I hope this presentation helped you understand a bit more about these amazing structures. See you in the next module. Bye bye!